Welcome to Discover Joyous Love with Anita DeFrancesco as your host. This is a hybrid of topics under the subjects of mindfulness, sexuality, and relationships. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Discover Joyous Love. I'm your host, Anita DeFrancesco, coming to you from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on July 4th, folks. Today is July 4th. And today I have a very special guest for me. She comes to us from Canada, up near the Niagara Falls area. Her name is Andrea Wehlann, and she is going to discuss her book today, Deeper Author. And let me give you some background about our guest today. Andrea Wehlann is a best-selling author, award-winning poet, visionary founder. Now, she is the founder of Yoga and Reiki School in Canada. So if you're there, be sure to check that out. We're drawing on a background here of her psychology and social services. Andrea uniquely blends the profound healing power of yoga and the transformative depth of poetic expression. Her work, including The Deeper Days, is the book we're discussing. Can you show that book, please?
Yeah.
Hold it up. It's a little light, but it's a wonderful cover. It is so beautiful, and it really says a lot. So it draws you in.
Yeah.
And she also has another book, 365 Yoga Aspirations. Yoga-spirations or aspirations?
Yeah, so that's Deeper Days, 365 Yoga-spirations for Inner Calm Amidst Chaos.
Okay, and then no matter how dark the stain, poems and inspiration for the woman in pain. So she is going to speak to us today about a few things and how she transformed and how she became this best-selling author. Good morning, Andrea Wehlann. Hello.
Yeah, hi, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So maybe what do you want to say before we get into things? You know, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I own a yoga studio here. During COVID was an interesting time where the writing that I've been writing since I was 7 years old just kind of all came into fruition, and there was a lot of clarity there. When they closed my yoga studio is when I published Deeper Days, 365 Yoga-spirations for Inner Calm Amidst Chaos. And it's really because I knew all my yoga students were still out there. I teach a yoga class on the beach every summer. And before COVID, it had at least 400, 500 people on the beach. And so I was thinking, how can I write to those yoga students that even though we're not allowed out of our houses, they're still out there? So what kept me calm for a lot of years during my life is a daily spiritual practice. In 1999 through the year 2001, 2002. And Deeper Days is similar type book. It's based on ancient wisdom about the art of concentration, how you can use your mind to stay connected from your head to your heart each day. So it's really a little nugget of wisdom that's very simple, and then activity to help strengthen and water the seeds inside you of focus, awareness, and concentration.
So not everyone, you know, I'm also a yoga teacher, and you know, it's not everyone is exposed to it, or not everyone believes in something like yoga, or they feel like they're not flexible enough. So they sort of have a fear of taking a class. But yoga, maybe we can tell them how much more of a benefit it is, other than just, you know, getting your body in shape. It really has a lot of transformative properties with all of the pranayama breathing. And how does that all go about?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think now, and I'm starting to notice some other yoga teachers as well, it's not so much about the poses. The consciousness has also risen, and we're able to grasp these concepts a lot easier than, you know, say traveling to the mountaintops of Tibet and learning a practice and then coming home and teaching it. I think we can see that it's not so much in the actual depth of the poses, in like becoming a pretzel or being flexible, but it's really very simple, and we can grasp these concepts now where we are in society and in culture and consciousness very quickly. It's really about staying connected to your breath. So if you can breathe, you can do yoga. And that's important for people to know.
So breathing, in breathing, what is that noise? Is it something that we're missing here? In breathing, it's more, like you said, it's more than the poses. It's about the breath. So what happens with the breath, they call that the fire inside the body. And what that does is help to undo maybe some traumatic patterns that live inside the connective tissue, inside, the dormant areas of your brain that are in your body. And this is just a start for some people who really want to get on the journey of bettering themselves and working out old pain. So yoga is really a medicine, I would say. How about you?
I would agree with you. Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, there's a couple ladies on the street here that are from India, and what they recognize the name of my studio because it's Ganga, which is the river in India for healing. And so they came for the hatha yoga practice and said that when they go to the doctor prescribes 4 or 5 yoga poses for them to go home and practice. That is their medicine there.
Interesting.
It's really interesting to hear that, but there is not big pharma. There isn't coverage for medicines. So they do use yoga to heal their body there.
So this book, let's put the book up again. We're going to discuss the deeper days, and that's the full title, or is there a subtitle to that?
The subtitle is, so it's Deeper Days, and the subtitle is 365 Yoga-spirations for Inner Calm Amidst Chaos.
Now the book, it's not just a yoga book, or what is it? Let's talk about the book. Tell me about the book. You became an award, so you're a best-selling author. Okay.
Yes.
And when did you publish the book? When did it come out?
2023.
Oh, so you've had it out a little while now. Well, 2 years.
Yeah.
And so tell me about it. What inspired you to write it? And I mean, you did give me some background in there, but what's actually is it about? Can someone use it as a reference guide? I mean, a book that they can pick up.
Here's the best way. So Deeper Days, every day, and I didn't number them as well, because you can just kind of pick any day that you want. If we tend to go by, start at 1, 2, 3, then we tend to lose it, right? So each day is a self-inquiry practice. This is day 47. It says, hello, me. There's a little bit here to digest, self-inquiry. You can see the pages, what's on them is very small, right? So you can use this every day.
You really can't see the words. It comes up white, but so
so each day is a self-inquiry. So while you're making your coffee, you read the self-inquiry part, which is a passage from one of my teachers, from a wisdom, from a teaching, a way to see things differently, change the patterns in your brain, maybe get you thinking in a different way. At the end is a mantra. We this is day 41, the power of myth. We are whole. All we seek is within. So if you can repeat during the day, we are whole. All we seek is within. If you can bring your attention back to that thought during the day, you're staying connected from your head to your heart and watering the seeds inside you, strengthening the mental muscles that help you develop concentration, awareness, focus.
So this is like a mantra for someone to repeat and sort of retrain the brain process, cognitive retraining on your own, where you manifest, say simple things, a passage and a self-inquiry, and you say simple things, then all of a sudden this becomes something that you all of a sudden start to feel and believe, and then the transformation begins. And how long after they take on these self-inquiries that they are able to see some change in their whatever it is that they're working on, their journey?
Yeah. If you can bring your attention back onto the thought, even once during the day, there's a space there. It's like taking an extra breath. And in that space allows for creativity. So instead of going through the day just reacting to the fast-paced culture and all of the things, there's a moment here. And in Zen, there's the 3 moments. So bringing the attention back onto the thought anchors attention. You can take an extra breath, and in that moment, you feel better. you can respond differently to situations. You might get an insight. You might hear, right? It's something different. You're breaking the patterns of the everyday, but making space for the kingdom of peace and kindness and compassion that's already inside all of us.
And it comes with speaking the words. Yes, the word. So the word helps with the manifestation, and saying that aloud. You want them to say that loudly, or maybe look in the mirror and really have this center of belief that, yes, I am manifesting this. And then a lot of people have a lot of self-doubt, and they're not sure of themselves, and they can go into that other old headset that doesn't allow them to make that step because they have this part of them that is in doubt. So this could kind of help to wash away, or at least bring them up to the level of self-belief. And that's really where it begins. So is it self-belief is where it really begins, believing that you can change.
So I think having the combination of, yes, there's mantra, but yes, there's also self-inquiry. So it's not just like you're creating a mantra and you have to deal with all of those, what you were just mentioning, the intrusive thoughts and the old thought patterns. But with the self-inquiry, that's what makes it beautiful, is it gives you different ways of thinking, different things to think about. I can read an example.
Yes, please do. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just opening it to a random page. This is day 149, and it's called B. The self-inquiry part is, true spiritual growth is as much about taking away or not doing as it is about having and doing. Loving includes tough choices, like the pain of walking away when we're still in love. Trust the abundance of the universe. Walking away in love is love. Have you noticed this? Could you sacrifice a love for an abundant universe full of love? With each breath, notice when you tend to hang on. Use your exhale to practice letting go. Right? So different things to think about. Maybe you could journal, maybe like it invites, right? Different thinking. And at the end, the mantra for the day is love is honesty. Love is honesty. So one practice I do with this is just close your eyes for a couple of moments and repeat it to yourself. Love is honesty. Love is honesty.
Love is honesty. Is honesty. Love is honesty.
Yes.
So,
yeah, this strengthening your mental muscles. Now, as you go through your day, as a person goes through their day, if you can bring attention back to that, now you're adding the meaning to your day.
Right. So you're having them repeat something. By the end of reading the passage, the inquiry, they can go into a statement that stays with them. For example, love is honesty for the day.
Honesty, just for the day. But then you're bringing your attention back to who you were in the morning. No, I'm setting my sail for how today's going to go. I'm adding the meaning to my day today. Love is honesty. You come back. It gives you, it gives you connection from your head to your heart each day.
Now, the books are for anyone, men, women, but I see up one of your questions here. How do your books help women specifically? Is there something more specific for the woman than?
Yeah, so the first book I wrote, 2021 was, so this one came out in 2022. So 2021 is No Matter How Dark the Stain, Poems and Inspiration for the Woman in.
Let's see that book. So that one looks interesting. No matter how dark the stain. So yes, the darkness within us and what scars we are living with, huh?
Yes.
Men and women, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So the publisher wanted that to go specifically to the target audience, and I was okay with that. But really, it's for all of us. But during COVID, again, domestic violence phone calls went up 60%, like 60%. And so it's Poems and Inspiration for the Woman in Pain is the title. But really, it's just to remind that the dark parts of our life and the light are both love. And that we're not what happens to us, but what we choose to do with that. Or just to remember that you're still destiny. Everyone is born with a seed and greatness within them. And I think we're not taught this in school, right? So that's what this book is really about.
It would be so nice if these are the things we would focus on in the schools for children to learn how to transform the pain that sometimes comes in a family that is out of their control. Growing up where, parents are still learning, so they're not really to blame, but there's so much abuse in families. But so this darkness that people live in, they come from a dark place, and then one day they transform, and they keep that light at the end of the tunnel alive. So once this darkness is there, we can't look at it negatively or put it away and say, hey, this is what you grow from. You're growing from the dark. Is that correct? That way?
I believe that. I think we grow in the dark. I wanted the book out for, because like you said, we're not taught that, and our parents can't teach us. We're all learning, and we're all walking each other home. But just as a woman who wrote through, such instances and loss and pain, there's a process that happens, mimesis, imitation. It's a Greek word. And there's a process that happens. So the poet writes at one point and the reader reads at another point, and both are transformed. And metaphysically speaking, where there's light, there can be no darkness. And so, sometimes just having words for the experiences that we feel is enough to blow oxygen onto the burning embers that are inside of our souls. And then who are these women or these people in darkness when they're shining at their true light? Like, what do those books sound like? What songs are those songs?
Right. And we admire people that are in their true light. We admire that, we look to that, and we see, right. And people look at that sometimes with the impossible. They could never be that, or jealousy, or admiration is a good thing, because I always look at people that were always in a higher light than myself. First, there was always that little jealousy or something. I wish that I would have had that, but also looking at them in an admiration light helps you transform. Admiring those that are successful in whatever it is, their jobs, their energy, their journey of light. And people seem to be jealous of people, but for what reason? Because they have money or because they had a greater job. But are they in that higher power light? Not necessarily. They could have a whole bag of problems that really need attention, and they struggle. But it has nothing really to do with if you're wealthy or not, or successful in a job or not. Right? Or no?
Yeah, because everyone assigns, it's all through everybody's lens of whatever they went through that they're seeing that. So, and you never quite know how people are looking at you, right? So, but jealousy is an interesting, what is it, an emotion? It's an interesting concept. I don't think people, when we were younger, say there's like the green-eyed monster. But I think if I said that to my kids, they wouldn't know what that was.
Oh my goodness. And the green-eyed monster is what? The jealousy, or?
Jealousy, yeah.
Jealousy is such a negative on a person who becomes jealous. Now, we're all jealous. I know growing up, I was always jealous of the kids on the better side of town. They had the nicer cars, they had the nicer things, but were they transformed?
Yeah.
Or was that just material? I find in this life, now I'm not wealthy, but I'm wealthy in my riches of my soul. That people are jealous of me in a sense sometimes, because they think that I'm world, but I think it's just the energy that they're looking at. It's not like I'm top of the world. I don't have all the fancy cars or the fancy money to go along with that, So it's really about that, and you try to teach them, how to become more of the best that you can be, with the life that you were given, the gift of life.
Yeah. I love that. It's so interesting. Yeah. Someone just introduced that green-eyed monster back into my awareness, and I was like, okay, but what do we do with that? But I like what you're saying about, it's like jealousy of what? Not the things, but the energy. Yeah, because, not financially, but my heart is so rich from my experiences, from my travel, from my studies, from my But
Well, those are the things that really matter, so to speak. And if you could have all the other things to go along with that, then you're really going to be something, but it's not a perfect world, and people don't have all of those things. They have some of those things, and they may be a prodigy of sorts, and they may have all that born talent of, say, dancing or singing, but like, look at Whitney Houston, for example. She was plagued with so much emotional problems, but yet one of the most beautiful, talented singers out there.
Yeah.
And, the way she died, OD'd or whatever it was. I mean, just looking at her life, and I loved her songs. I always would sing her songs. The greatest love of all. You can find it in yourself. And, I was in New York once, and I got up and sang that song. I was taking a singing class, and I wasn't even prepared. And the teacher bawled me out for not being prepared vocally. But yet I got a standing ovation. And I thought, the greatest love of all is within me. And it was really a moment in time, even though she was like, your voice was terrible, you weren't prepared. We were in a class and we did this thing. But I said, people just wanted to see somebody that loved themselves.
I think the heart hears the heart. And it was actually those songs, Whitney Houston and The Power of Love from Celine Dion. In my small town, I would sit by, we had the locks, and I'd watch the boats go by and just write about love, like the greatest love of all and the power of love.
But her life, Whitney Houston, was really, she had so much emotional issues. And again, you're born a prodigy, but it doesn't mean you're perfect. But now, so what, now let's see, how does yoga lead to the spiritual healing? Or did we talk about that already?
Ooh.
How does yoga lead spiritual? People don't understand sometimes. I always like to think I'm talking to an audience that is very new to what this kind of world is, because it's really, big in our society, but more like in the Western, like West Coast. East Coast is big, but the California big there. But in the Western world, we're big with this, but not enough. So how does yoga lead to spiritual, healing of someone?
I think the breath is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual worlds. And if I see yoga as a breathing practice, we're essentially breathing through the challenges. If you're standing in a yoga posture, or even just in a sitting one, is hard for people. But if you're breathing through that, you're breathing through the challenges. And breath is a way in. So the mind is like a cage, and, we put up all these stories around us. But when you practice yoga, or when you bring attention to your breath, you have a way in to yourself. And that's where the spirit lives, perhaps.
So should they have a teacher, someone guiding them to start, or how do you recommend that?
Well, that's why I wrote Deeper Days, because my studio was gone. So people didn't have teachers, right? And so, with Deeper Days, with my book, you could do that. Just so I have mine set up when I make my coffee, and it's just on a book stand, and each day I turn the page, and you can do it by yourself. It's just a practice. So this is the same. My Zen Buddhist teacher taught me like this. You wouldn't bring a puppy home and just let the puppy run through the house. You train a puppy, and you say no. You say no. If you want a cookie, no, not today. And he said, same thing with the mind. It's trainable. You can train it. And so each day that you can bring attention back to your breath, whether it be a mantra, a song lyric, the Deeper Days book, whatever you're committed to or made the decision towards, each time you bring your mind back, it's just like going to the gym physically and doing a bicep curl. It's the same thing. You're building. And the beautiful thing is, once you have a few moments of concentration, there's a space there, and there's a lot of magic and power in that. Just having that space where you're free from thought, where you can see that you are more than your thoughts, and you are more than you think you are, because that's what happens. We are more than our thoughts.
So, okay, now your yoga studio, or do you have a full end of classes going on every day? Let's talk about that a moment. And the Ganga.
Ganga moon.
Ganga. You say Ganga. Ganga moon, not Ganga?
Something.
I don't know. I thought it was Ganga. Ganga moon yoga.
Ganga moon, but yeah, I even get ganja, to be honest with you.
Ganja, right? Because ganji, like
But
ganji
it's
is the
not
marijuana.
it's
Ganji's.
Ganga with a J. But my studio is Ganga, and it's named after the Ganges River in India.
Do you have various teachers there? Or what do you teach there? What are the types of classes?
So at Ganga Moon, I've kind of blended the classes right now. So it's summertime here, so I have my kids home. So it's less classes, once, twice a week, but I teach outdoors on the beach. So I blend half the yoga. I have crystal singing bowls here. We do a little bit meditation to go inside, or start with a poem to go inside. And then we use the bolsters and pillows to have a relaxing, restorative yoga class. And it's a beautiful thing. It's full every week. And I teach at the local libraries. I do workshops where I do Reiki healing in the restorative yoga poses. And then each summer in June and July, I teach outdoors on the beach for the whole community to come onto the beach. And so the next one's coming up July 24th on Sunset Beach. So that'll be exciting.
Oh, wow. And you live right near the beach?
I'm pretty close. I'm
Pretty close.
Yeah, we're on the Great Lakes here, so.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, so I wanted to just say that, getting back to the spiritual, I wanted to read that your dedication to spiritual healing comes from the overcoming childhood, mental, physical, and emotional abuse, surviving rape, sexual assault, miscarriages, infant loss, personal experience. Make you an effective healer. Of course it does. And the gifts that you strive to share through your writing and your teachings and being here today, that the world is whole and we are all equal parts of the whole, and that the darkness and light are both love. So all of this stuff that you have come through, we want people to know that you can come through that too, right? That's why we're here.
Yeah.
And so you have had such, it sounds like you've had such a challenging, life, that you found your way out. And what was the first step? I know it wasn't yoga, because you were probably a little kid and you never heard of yoga. How old were you when you first decided, you have children now and all that, but when you first decided, that the pain that was inside of you, it was time for it to go? What was the journey? Where did it begin?
It kept coming.
Did it?
So I luckily for me, I had, a lot of pain, so that I could catch on to the patterns. But I also had the beautiful poetry from age 7. So I knew there was something divine, and I knew there was a lot of pain. I think one of the first steps for me was realizing, like one night I was left for dead on a curb after being gang raped. They kind of pushed me out of the car, and I was on the curb, like half on, half off. I'm not sure how I survived that, but I knew that was something. And I used the poetry to transform that. Once I got to my next, a couple more of the dark moments, but I could tell that, my mind wasn't right. And so I drove really far to a new space, and I grabbed a newspaper from the area, brand new area. And I just looked, and it said meditation teacher looking for students just to teach for free, NLP therapist. And I was like, that's me. And I went there and I stayed with that teacher for 5 years. And he ended up developing a whole course called Empty Your Cup, and he's quite successful today.
Well, how old were you when this happened?
So this is 18, 19.
18. Okay. 18.
Yeah.
And so that was where your journey, and you got your strength somewhere. I mean, we just don't wake up and believe in strength. It was like maybe a little miracle that happened for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe in miracles. Absolutely. And in Zen, there's it's a bodhicitta, and there's a poem in my book called Bodhicitta as well. And it's like something you're born with, and you just know it. So even though I knew things were wrong, I also knew there's a great love, because I could see it in the words that were coming out in the poetry. So I was almost channeling that, going through awfulness. And so I had both. And then when after my meditation teacher, I found a yoga teacher, and I could start to see, and then a Zen teacher, and I could start to see that, oh, I'm not the only one. There are people that are born with this bodhicitta. There are people that are born with this knowingness that can handle hard things. And, it's almost like the hero's journey. I feel like the reason I do the podcast is to remind people that I'm not separate from anybody else. I'm the same, and you have this in you too.
So a lot of us have, and now in this day and age, kids coming up, a lot of them come up with just one parent, so there's a lot of issues there. Mm-hmm. And there are challenges in the schools than when I was coming up. But this yoga, let's talk about the stillness of yoga. Oof. How can people, what is that stillness all about when you start to feel your brain, your breath, your body still, and yet you feel like you're on top of the world?
Yeah, there's moments when you are still. People think stillness or being quiet is like, but it's really a force and protects your energy, and it's not quiet, it's not weak, but when you're still, your heart song is singing. There's an inner intelligence that's working, but you can't hear it with the hustle and bustle of the mind. And so it's really important to have a moment or a practice or a mantra, something to still. And then inside is this whole other kingdom of compassion, kindness, wealth, abundance, gratitude. It's this whole other world. And, I wish and I pray that for everybody to have that experience of that.
Interesting. So the stillness, it helps you to kind of get out of that chaoticness, maybe.
There's no chaos in the stillness. Yeah. So I didn't think I could publish 3 books because they weren't related in the topic. And I was like, no. And my publisher said, well, but you're the author. And I was like, okay, well, I'll meditate on that. But what I realized and what's important for this conversation is that no matter how dark the stain is, shining light on all of the darkness, like turning over every nugget of your life. If you can rewrite it in a different way, it shines light on it. It can't hurt you anymore. It can't keep coming up. You've shown the light on it, right?
And the breath and the spiritual, tapping into that spiritual side.
Yeah, and then you can tap into the spiritual side, which is what Deeper Days is doing. And so you can build this place in you where you're doing the practice, and you know that, oh, there's more. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not what they said I was. I can feel peace. You can have experiences. And then Stillness came out, Stillness in the Storm, a conscious daily journal of
That's
yoga.
the third. Is that the third book? It's a little light. You can't see it, but bring it. Yeah, bring it. There it is. Stillness in the Storm. Yeah. Now that's yoga poses in there, or?
So this is just me teaching as if I'm in my studio, just in case things close down again. Someone could read it to you, and it would be just like me teaching. But also there's space to write, because there's a real power in getting out and writing. There's a force in writing that opens up a whole vacuum to that inner intelligence can just speak through.
So let's talk about the journaling, how important journaling is, and why is it such a crucial part of this journey to journal, to pick up a pen, writing down, and it's helped you, and how can it help others? Let's talk about the journaling. And
behind me, that white bin is all full of written journals. It's the journaling gets it out. So your mind will just ruminate whatever's in it. But if you can write down what's in your mind, whatever's most hurting you at the moment, if you can put it on paper, it cannot hurt you. You can see it. It's just like that metaphysical, you've shown light on it. It can't hurt you. It's just the way it is. So once you start to write those things out, then you have a power. So when the thoughts are in your mind, they're just wreaking havoc, farting around all day long, and you're this and you're that, just old stories. But when it's on paper, then you have a chance, and you can write the new story. So that your mind that creates that hatred inside, or that blame, or that shame, is the same mind that could create a love story. So how do you do that? Journal. Put it on paper, see them, whatever, write down whatever comes out, and then what? There's a space there. There's more. There's that inner intelligence and wisdom. And through journaling, you can see that. You can get to know yourself.
You're listening to Discover Joyous Love. My guest today is Andrea Wehlann, who hails from Canada with us. We're talking about her book. It's called Deeper Days, and the subtitle is 365 Yoga-spirations for Inner Calm Amidst Chaos. Deeper Days. Okay, Andrea. So now getting back to this journaling, I mean, so once you remove it from the brain, it leaves the ego. So your ego gets dissolved a little bit. And you're no longer, pressured. We're so pressured by the ego, I must say. It's very hard for people not to be, so ego connected. But once you dissolve those blocks and you put it on the paper, as you say, you write down, you're writing the new story, perhaps, or removing that part you don't want anymore.
Yeah, and you can even see that you're more than that. Like if you go around all day and think, like one big one for me was I'm fat and I'm ugly. So, but once I wrote it down on paper, like I don't know how many years that traumatized me for, maybe 14, 15, 16, maybe it still creeps in. But once I wrote on paper, I made 2 columns when I was doing some self-inquiry work. I wrote it in 2 columns. I'm also a child of God. I'm also love. I'm also destiny, a piece of creation. How could I be anything less? Right? So, but when it's in your mind, it's like it's sticky, it's stuck. When you journal, it like and with kindness, it adds a lubrication so it doesn't get stuck. And what you see is that you are so much more than that. And whose stories are these? Where did that even come from? Like, where did I pick that up? You have to ask yourself these questions. So I'm saying that I'm these things, whatever, everyone has their own dish of things they tell themselves. But you got to ask them, where did you come from? Like, is this my grandma's? Like, who couldn't sleep at night? I'm an insomniac, or who was? Right? We have this is the self-inquiry is so important. You have to ask yourself these questions, and in that, you can transform.
So these are all the things that can attach to us. And they shape our brain in another way. And maybe we're picking up transference from individuals around us or family baggage, family trauma, trauma syndromes, issues that our family may have. And we're getting this transference. So it's basically a cleansing of going in to cleanse yourself, because no matter how, little or big the trauma could have been in someone's life, there's still something that needs to be cleaned. It's always recreating, opening up that new space for the new growth and the new world. Always changing.
And I think that's the transforming part, is that journaling. So it's taking that, whatever it is for you, from whatever, like we all have those little things for ourselves. That's what makes us unique. So it's taking that, write it down, and then write the new story, transform it. That's how it transforms. So it doesn't get lost. There's nothing to let go of here. We have everything, but it's transforming it. Now, how can I use that part of myself to get me where I want to go now? Right? It's not lost. It's not separate. I'm not different from the girl who was raped, but it's, but now how can I use that now to get me where I want to go?
Creating yourself.
This is our gift with our mind. Like a spider can only stay a spider.
So you recreate yourself. You recreate. You make a new you. Now, can people learn from any of your books how to journal, or you give them some messages in there on how to do it?
I would say the Deeper Days book is the best thing that I ever did with my life. I spent 3 years doing a daily practice, and I transformed every thought of fear that I had into thoughts of love. And, in Deeper Days, I really took all of that work with all of the yoga work, with all the poetry work, and it's all in one. And I made it super, super easy. So you're buying Deeper Days, but you're not buying a book you have to sit and read, and like, how exhausting is that? But it's something you have every day. It's a practice. And the pages aren't numbered, so nobody's looking. So if you do 3 in a week, that's fine. You just turn a new page each day, turn a new page, start brand new, just like every breath. Every breath is fresh.
So this discipline and dedication is the key. And that's where the yoga poses come in. Once you start to put the body into action, the mental part connects and you let go of the old attachments that are there. So you need to start with the body, I believe. And for me, it's always been about the body first and then the mind, because usually people go the mind, what they say, mind, body, it's body. I think it's body, mind, or body, mind, body. But I think in this day and age, since we're such a physical culture, people go to the gym and we're really a physical culture these days, that we have a lot of power in our bodies to start there. And that's where Andrea Wehlann can teach you in her classes at Ganga Moon Yoga in Canada. If you're in Canada, folks, or pick up her books to learn some discipline, some way of learning about loving yourself, about transforming. Now, how has your past defined how you live life today? Did we talk about that? No.
Yeah. So the past was dark, and now I live in the light.
No, wow, no way. For me, I'll tell you what the dark was. My hair is blonde, but as I was blonde growing up. But if I have dark roots that come in, we all color our hair blondes. I go, oh no, that's the dark. I got to get rid of the dark. I'm in the light. So if I look at myself, it has to be blonde hair. Sorry.
Oh, that's so funny. So for me, I think everything comes in patterns and recognizing patterns. And I started to see, so when I was down and out and hurt and being abused, and, I didn't want that for anybody else. And at one point I was just living life. I was in university, but I could see on the faces of the people in front of me that their faces were how I was looking at like when I was being hurt, and I was like, oh, it's like I'm causing that. So I started to recognize the pattern that, hey, I think I'm just continuing this abuse and making people feel terrible and doing shitty things. I'm sorry if I can not say that, but and then I made that decision for myself. It's like every text message I say, it is not going to be that. And that's when I really started to study and get my certification in Reiki. I did past life regression, Qigong, Feng Shui, all of the things, just to really make sure that I had no nuggets of that painfulness that I was passing on to anybody else. So I was really able to switch the vibration by doing the inner work.
So you knew that this is how you become a healer. You've been through it and you are able to see in others and able to help others. Do you do coaching and counseling with people?
Yeah.
Or you just, so what is that?
Yeah. So I'm just starting to transition. I'm not very good with a website. So, but yes, I'll do some, one-on-one coaching with people. I always help people if they ask me, for sure. Some people will come and we'll just do a numerology, just kind of a raise your vibration session that's private. They just come for an hour and we do a couple things. They lead with their life path numbers and stuff like that, just to clear out some old forgiveness list, gratitude list, things like that. So it's really where I want to go and where I want to be. So, but everything is just like a transition. So
and letting people know that we're continually transitioning all the time. This whole thing is a work in progress. It never ends.
Never ends. Like music.
Right.
Like yoga.
Yes. And people that write music, especially jazz, and it comes from a whole lot of a storm of pain out there. And the rap artist, look at the rap artist. I mean, that is like a whole nother storm of pain. And they continually write, and we continually try to find ourselves somewhere in there, the new self. because we have to lean on the pain in order for us to heal someone. It's like AA, you know, the AA, people go to Alcoholic Anonymous. You have to be an ex-alkie to be a counselor. You have to be a
Oh, okay.
recovered, you have to be a
Right.
recovered alcoholic or a recovered drug addict in order to help. So
Okay.
it's the same policy. Like I try to counsel people in AA and the 12-step meetings, but I'm not recovered. I've never been an addict. So
Okay.
yeah, so in those you have to be, and that is very important. The same thing in our work from what we're teaching, our tools. 12-step
Yeah.
is a thing in their own, but it's very. I'm so glad that we're talking about all of this because it's really important to educate people as much as we can as we go forward in this world. What now? Are you still writing a lot of poetry, and how often do you
Yeah.
write? Well, I
Yeah.
like, you know who I like? I like Emily Dickinson.
Oh, she's lovely. Yeah, I have a stack of poetry books here on my table. I was making it like a summer reads. I'm reading Jim Morrison right now. I have Jules' book here, um, something McPherson. I want to read all about the poets this year. I have a book of poetry just sitting here ready to be typed up and published. I also have two more books, one about all my yoga studies under my desk in kind of a memoir type book. So they're here ready to go, just waiting for a publisher and the time to type them up. I write poetry every time I can catch it, but I'm really lucky that it's always flowing through my mind. As I get older, I find, my looks kind of fade, but my inside has never been prettier. I hear poetry all the time in my mind. So the
Wow.
trick is just, can I catch it?
So that's a gift in a way to be
I think
able
so.
to attach yourself to that positive connection inside, because basically all of our pain is an attachment to other people's negativity. I think sometimes that we're attached to their transference. We're attached to things that they projected onto us that made us disbelieve ourselves. And then that's how children grow up, not having the confidence and the courage to become something when parents put them down. And it's such a hard thing to dig yourself out. It's so hard. I know growing up was so hard to dig myself out, or I become schizophrenic like my brother. My brother became a schizophrenic. A brilliant guy, but couldn't dig himself out of that everyday, family trauma stuff. And all families have that. It's just, you know why? Because when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of psychological help available like there is today. We didn't really have the internet and all of that. The young generation have much more opportunity, and but let's see. So tell me something about your awards that you've won. I know you've won some awards for poetry, so that's impressive.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I won some poetry awards. I'm published in, I think, 7 anthologies. I wrote for Brock University, where I went to school, so I was published in their paper. Those are moments that, when we talk about magic, like, I never could have dreamt that into life. I mean, that's just to remind people maybe that if you just follow your heart, like the universe opens to you. Even Deeper Days becoming a bestseller. Here I am, a yoga teacher wanting to help my students best I can and to share what my teachers taught me in a really simple way for other people. And then here it became a bestseller in the category of yoga, in Mind, Body, Soul. It won 2 book awards. And it's just like, follow your heart.
And the heart is the big space that people are armored with. It's a lot of armoring around the heart, especially men, because they don't want to fall in love so easy. Women open their hearts. At least we get to open it more having a baby and wanting to always have that connection and commitment from a man and a partner. And but men tend to have more armored hearts. But then really, when you think about it, women have armor in their sexual area more than the man, because and their heart has been so open that they have to armor somewhere. So we want to connect that, like you said, the body, mind, the lower chakra to the heart chakra, all the chakras, so that people can understand, where the true creative feeling is to come out and draw from to be who you are. It's a journey, man. It really is such a journey. I mean, now this Deeper Days book, let's hold it up again. Folks out there, we're listening to Discover Joyous Love podcast. I'm your host, Anita DeFrancesco. My guest today, Andrea Wehlann, who comes to us from Canada, and she's got 3 books, and she has the Ganga Moon Yoga Studio in Canada. But now Deeper Days, 365 Yoga-spirations for Inner Calm Amidst Chaos, is a lovingly crafted book to get you moving through the world with love, to help you make a moment to breathe and find stillness in daily reflection. And let me see the other book, Stillness in the Storm. I like this one. I like this title.
Yeah.
I really am. I can relate to the stillness in the storm when you want it all to stop. I mean, it's kind of like you wrote it from that inner child, huh?
Yeah, there's that point. Yeah, I think that it says it on the back. Yeah, there's an intersection. Yeah. Harmonious blend. The journal celebrates the harmonious blend of mind, body, and spirit, guiding you to that serene intersection. Yeah, dreams come true. So dreams come true.
Now, are you like friendly with your family and stuff? You have a big family. Maybe you could talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, it's not a big family. We're more like holiday people. We see each other at the holidays and stuff like that.
And you're friends with mom and dad and all of that.
Yeah, my father passed away. There's a poem in the book called Daddy that I have a soft spot for people that lose their dads. So that was sad for me. He was 62. So.
Oh, young man, huh? That's young. Yeah. People are dying so young anymore.
Yeah.
So we have 5 minutes left, and I still want to cover some things.
Okay.
What do you want to talk? What else do you want to share with me here? Maybe how poetry helped heal you from the things that inspired, or something else. What do you want to talk about? We have a good 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I just want to say that you can always write. Like, I didn't know the poetry book was going to come together, but it's really about listening to that inner wisdom is always speaking to you. There's an inner intelligence that's inside all of us that can't go away. It cannot. And it's really about listening to that and to what it tells you, and maybe having a little bit of leap of faith to be able to do it. I mean, I was waitressing in a Chinese food restaurant in my small town, and I would fill up back then with no computers, like you mentioned. It was on the paper. I still have all those papers here. They're under my desk in the one book. Write, even if it's on toilet paper, just write and see what happens. It's the biggest tip or point I can give anybody who wants to transform, like immediately. It's just get a piece of paper and a pen and see what comes out.
And what about people that text a lot? I feel texting is very mechanical, and it's not from true feeling. You really can't pick up the feelings of the other person. Sometimes you can if you know them on a text, or generally with emojis, but I always feel like sometimes we either have to talk or write with the pen, the actual pen. Some people will never pick up a pen. They will put everything down through a text or a computer, whatever they want to write. But I think sometimes part of the journaling should be with the pen. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So maybe, I like what you said, that things start in the body, because this new shift that I started, I had to get my body first, and then I'll see what else comes from it. But before then, I think maybe it comes from making that mental decision that I want to change, or that I'm sick of carrying this around, or whatever it is. But I think it becomes, you make a decision. A decision is it's like the intellect as a sharp knife. It cuts through. It cuts the cord to make a decision, right? So you cut the cord of whatever's in the past, and you make that decision to what comes forward. I think that might have to happen in the mind, and then you continue. So I'm going to decide I'm going to journal because I hear these benefits, or because I want to get to know myself, and I know that this is a way that I can do, right? So
So now how about these people out there that can't make this mental decision? Because first it's the mental decision that has to come, or it's just a transformational moment. Like it's more like an awakening that happens. Like for me, it was awakenings. I was a sick child, had rheumatic fever. I was in the hospital, and I was the only white kid amongst African Americans in 1966 in Philly. And that was a time when I transformed, or I was awakened. Like I never knew what prejudice was growing up because of that experience. And then when I came into the world of the 1960s, everybody was, prejudiced, whatever. It was like a lot of that. And I was like, I didn't know that. Those kids were kids. I was in the hospital. We healed each other. It didn't matter what color the skin or anything like that, or whatever. But what I was saying, I thought awakenings. Now, how do people have awakenings? I really think that you have to, I don't know if it's a gift to have an awakening, or we work to have an awakening. I mean, my awakening just came. They just came.
Or just so that teacher, my meditation teacher, I found, the NLP teacher, he would call it a 2x4. And he would say, sometimes you just get hit with a big 2x4, and that's your awakening. So I think if you're not listening, if I'm told to write something down and I don't write it down because of how aware I am and of the process, it will hit me in a different way. And I think sometimes, like, nobody's missing out. Like, it's all the same for everybody. So you're either consciously getting it or making a choice to do something, or you'll get hit by a 2x4 and you don't have a way.
And sometimes the awakening comes from something accidental in someone's life, or the first time a young girl gets pregnant, maybe.
Well, look at me being dumped on the curb,
Right.
It was only through my frozen bones that I was able to army crawl a little bit forward. It was the date rape drug that kept me stuck, but it was the cold of the concrete on the road that's what woke me up a little bit. So,
how old were you when that happened?
18.
18. Did they ever catch those guys?
I know who it was.
Oh, you knew. Yeah, well, see, that date rape stuff is very is still out there. It's still out there.
Rampant. Yeah.
And it's something that, I mean, I don't know. You got sex trafficking.
Talk about it. We have to talk about it. We need words for it. It can't be shh. No.
Right.
I told in my book called Rohypnol, and my publisher was like, I don't think we should name it that. And I said, I think that's the whole problem. Because what if we were told you will be raped and you can heal from it? The stories have to change. We can't just keep being silent.
I have much in common with you. I've had the rape experience as well, where they drugged me, Rohypnol. I believe it was Rohypnol.
Yeah.
And the date rape, that was something that shaped everything in me. It started to shape me. It started to make me stronger, actually, to not hate men. Now, a lot of women that have a date rape experience like us, I've never hated the man. I always wanted to love and teach them. Why would you do this to the beautiful feminine woman that has this essence to make you so great in your world? And anyway, but it was the same thing, left in a bedroom, tied up, same thing like you. Yeah. And but that Rohypnol drug, you just gotta be so mindful about drinks anymore around you, if you're out drinking.
Yeah. But should we really have to be so mindful? Like, my goodness, can't we just go out and have a drink? Come on.
I know,
but
watch my drink. I'll be right back. But I know, and it's crazy, but I'm so glad you shared that experience with me, and I'm so glad I got to anyone in a really long time, because I am so detached from that it was like, I'm glad it happened. So I learned in a way.
Yeah.
I grew from that ridicule. I looked at it as ridicule, and people that are insecure and people that are devilish, that I have come out more into my power of my angel. And that would be a nice book for me to write, Power of My Angel.
Yeah.
We always come up when we talk, but I'm so glad that Andrea Wehlann, I'm so glad that we got to exchange those words about that. Well, we're going to wrap it up soon. I want to know maybe share with the audience where they could find you. How can they, connect with you?
Yeah. So I'm at Ganga Moon Yoga on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Andrea L. Wehlann. It's a tricky spelling. It's Wehlann. But my books are at Barnes and Noble, Chapters. Indigo, if you're in Canada, is a big store. They're basically anywhere you punch the book in. Hashtags, deeper days, no matter how dark the stain, stillness in the storm. My email is public as well, so gangamoonyoga@gmail.com. My phone number is public. You can call me, you can email me. If I can help you in any way, then that's what I like to do. And also know that you can help yourself. You have all you need inside you right now.
All right, Andrea Wehlann, I would like to thank you for coming on to Discover Joyous Love. You've been listening to, I'm your host, Anita DeFrancesco. This podcast will be on Spotify. It will be on all of them. It farms out to all of the different, and also on my YouTube channel. So I'll post it around. Check back with us. I want to thank you again, Andrea. Okay.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you, Anita. Namaste.
Namaste.